I'd like to turn to
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm watching the trial in the background, and I got distracted while I was setting up. So, going to be painting another eye today. We're going to be painting a gentleman named Dan's eye. I saw some people in the chat talking about wanting to participate in the eye project and haven't heard back from me. I'm sorry. I just responded to all of the emails that I got. I think I had about 3 of them that I hadn't responded to. So, yeah, so I've responded to everyone that expressed interest in the eye project. If you didn't get a response from me, that probably means you're sending it to the wrong email. So I have a very specific email for participating in this project. If it gets sent to any of my other emails, I probably won't see them. Also, just a disclaimer, do not send me your personal messages to this email. This email is just specifically for the eye project. And if you do send me like personal messages on here, it just gets filtered into the spam folder, and then the spam folder gets deleted after 60 days. So just FYI, so this email is tswgstudios.iproject@gmail.com. Just hit me up, say, hey, Anna, I want to participate in the eye project. Can you send me information on how to do that? And I will get back to you as soon as I can, or as soon as I remember. That's the key partisan of it, as soon as I remember. And please don't take it personally if I don't, respond like instantaneously. I still have a text I need to get back to my best friend, like my in real life best friend from like 3 weeks ago that I haven't responded to yet. So I'm terrible when it comes to messages and emails. And my accountant really doesn't like it, but that's why I'm like, just call me. Just call me, whammon. But yeah, that's a whole nother animal that we're dealing with right now. Or I shouldn't say we, that I'm dealing with right now, because taxes aren't fun. But that it is what it is. But anyways, we are going to be painting a gentleman's eye today. All right. Why do I keep saying we? I mean I. I'm going to be painting, and you guys are going to be watching. Excuse me. I have Nick's stream up in the background, so I'm listening to the Johnny Depp trial. I'm really invested into it. So yesterday we listened to like serial killer documentaries. So now we're going to listen to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and how that bitch ruined his life. So I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to start mixing the paint and listening to that in the background. And we will get started. So yeah, I've had a little bit of camera issues, so I've been trying to fix it. So hopefully it does get resolved. But I'm gonna put the trial back on because Johnny's testifying.
It seems as though we had an agreement. We had to do something together. I'm actually asking what's meeting. So
I missed the question.
this is not necessarily an angry text. It's just, why do you deviate from our agreement? It's not about her doing films. How do you think she got compliments?
You tell her no goddamn meetings, no movies. You didn't want her out. You wanted to control her career, correct?
Objection.
That's
Absolutely untrue. All right, yes, I'll sustain the objection there.
We can move on. I good at 394, please.
If anything, she didn't want him doing stuff. I'm just transferring my paint over from my other cup.
He's getting. You can take a look at the 4th text down. This is a text from you.
He's getting hit over and over with a guy misunderstanding idioms.
It's in the timestamp issue. I believe it was sent on March 8th, 2015 in Australia. Timestamp March 7th, 2015. You see that? Your Honor, move for the admission of 394.
No objection with the opposite action. The rest of the text messages in the other. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
394 evidence.
I lost the cap for this, so I have just been setting it down. Ooh, that was a lot. It's more than I expected to come out. That's what she said. Okay. it a nice new clean. I need to go more that way. Or I guess more that way. There we go. Look, you guys can kind of see me.
6526, does he speak English? A few of these are just common vernacular of him going away. Yes.
Seriously.
Many of the moments where Johnny Depp clearly trying to leave a situation.
Let me get the photo.
The guy
This
suggests
gentleman has
he's
dark
eating
green
over-
eyes and long blonde eyelashes, which is going to be fun.
But of course, if you have a bunch of people who are English as a second language, be a good time.
Right after you had suffered an injury to your finger, you text Dr. Kipper and you say, "Hi, fuck, man. Had another one. I just cannot live like this. She is as full of shit as a Christmas goose. I'm done. No more."
Let me
The
get this.
constant insults, the demeaning,
Come on,
belittling, most
save.
heartbreaking spew that is only released from a malicious, evil.
My computer screen's all the way over there.
But you know what? Far more hurtful than her venomous and degrading, endless educational ranting is her hideously and purposely hurtful tirades and her goddamn shocking treatment of the man she was meant to love, above all.
Aw, poor Johnny.
Her obsession with herself is far more important. She is so fucking ambitious. She's so desperate for success and fame. That's probably why I was acquired. Although she has hammered me with what a sad old man has been I am. Cowan has done me the most cruel of favors. I'm so very sad. I cut the top of my middle finger off. What should I do? Except, of course, go to a hospital. I'm so embarrassed for jumping into anything with her. Fuck the world. Did I read that right?
Yes, Mr. Rockmore.
So even as you are ranting about Miss Hurd to Dr. Kipper, even as you were talking about her ambition and expressing your objections to that, you still admit to him that you cut the top of your middle finger off, correct?
Objection compound. Sustained as compound.
You're complaining about her ambition in this text to her, to Dr. Kipper, correct?
I'm realizing that her ambition is far stronger than her supposed feelings. It doesn't mean that I actually literally cut my finger off after, at the age of 12, finding the only thing that gave me peace, which is playing guitar. Very unlikely. Why didn't I start lopping off digits when I was 13?
Just the way it was worded. Now, Miss Hurd wasn't the only one who had a problem with you. Miss Hurd wasn't the only one who had a problem with your drinking and use of alcohol, correct?
Objection compound.
That wasn't compound.
All right, I'll state objection.
Miss Hurd wasn't the only one who had a problem with
Okay.
correct?
Same question.
So if anyone had a problem with my drinking at any time in my life, it was me. The only person that I have ever viewed in my life is myself.
In fact, you tried to
When you
hide
cut your finger off?
your daughter Little Rose, didn't you?
Objection relevant.
When your nerves are pushed,
Sure. Can we approach her?
Wheeler in the chat asks, why are clearly illegal recordings made by Amber Heard allowed? They got to object to them. They've got to object to them. Also, it depends where the recordings are made. Recordings made in California are an all-party consent state, but recordings made in other states, in other places, they would not be. But the defense would have to object to any of those recordings as illegally obtained. And the court, they may have done so. They may have done so in a motion in limine pre-trial. I don't know. And if they had done that and the court just ruled that they could come in, well, then they could come in and you have to argue that on appeal. But that's how that goes. They may have just not objected to them. Johnny Depp may have wanted all of the information or as much of the information to come in as possible. He did state that he's interested in the truth of the matter coming out. So he may
This
want
gentleman's got like a lot of pinks in his
I don't know
skin.
that the recordings hurt him all that much.
I think this This
obviously
area
the
that
other
I just
attorney
mixed is for like the
they
corner
can
of the
press it
eye.
on redirect if they feel it. If they feel they need to.
Even that last
207.
text message that they just read, like 98% of it is in Johnny's favor. It actually reinforces what he was going through. And it's only this, I don't know, is he trying to argue that Johnny Depp did this to himself? Is that his argument?
Yes. And
Who knows? It may work. The jury may bite.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd
I
like
guess
to direct your attention to the last text on this page. It's a text from you to Kevin Murphy. He was your estate manager, correct?
He was.
This is a text from you to Kevin Murphy on January 21st, 2014, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of that portion of Defendant's Exhibit 207 with redaction.
With the identifiers redacted, that's fine, thank you.
Tin Man says audio is perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Kaya Wee has a retracted message. I appreciate the donation. Stephen Cooper says some might call that a horde of women. Not us, though. Spelled interestingly on horde there.
Permission to publish? And in this text to Kevin Murphy on January 21st, 2014, you say, just trying to get over my shocking discussion with Vanessa that lasted 5+ hours. Vanessa's your former partner, correct?
She's the mother of my children, yes.
The mother of your children, that's right. And then you say, I feel ill and have invested my guts into some side corner. Now, Lily Rose hates me because she thinks I'm drinking. And she's right.
A baby.
I can't admit, or I fucking die in her eyes. Thanks for that one, Vanessa. Come to master in main house. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Can you pull up Exhibit 1092, please?
Could you imagine your
Follow-up
kids
question?
turning on you?
Anyone?
Okay,
Doesn't
I
have
need.
follow-up questions because he knows that Johnny will actually answer them.
Huh.
Yeah,
I think that's.
Let
I think
me
that's what he's really
see.
concerned
Where
with.
is it?
I
I
agree.
just got my white paint out.
It's
Oh,
not a
you
very
guys
good
can't even
strategy,
see
though,
this.
because all of this
I'm
would be
sorry.
picked apart on redirect, and he'll be left with less than nothing.
Picture of you passed out in a chair.
If done properly.
It's going the wrong way.
They can passed out. That's a very specific term. Sleep would be one. Passed out.
My juice.
Let's try it this way. This is a picture of you in a chair, correct? That's correct.
There we
For the admission of 1092.
Okay, let's get back to this. It's cropped a little weird, so. Oh yeah, I was looking for white
Your
paint.
Honor, I'm trying to move this along, and when we stop with relevance, everything.
Oh my God! Stop telling her what to do.
Well,
She's the
is it
fucking judge.
relevant?
Picture of Mr. Depp.
In the chair.
Introduce another, on Thursday, another picture.
I object to the chair.
Who's the date of this photograph? I'm sorry.
Again, these objections are throwing him off. He does not like it. They're really getting under his skin today. They should keep doing it, I think.
Just object to everything.
Also, you want to bring up a picture of him in a chair. Why? What's the point? What about this picture of the chair has relevance at all to anything?
Yep.
Because you can't tell, like, you could probably find bunches of pictures of me. I have narcolepsy, passed out in chairs, on couches all the time. Does that mean I'm drunk?
Nick's
No.
such a dad.
No, if I'm at my in-laws' house and there's a picture of me, like, drool coming down my face or whatever, I don't drink at my in-laws' house. That's not a thing. So that would be an out of context picture. It wouldn't say anything. So is there something in this picture? Is there some testimony as to what's in this picture? Trying to introduce evidence through a hostile witness is often a bad idea.
Take that down and put up exhibit 470 on the shelf.
And he lost.
I think it's illegal to sleep in a chair in about 39 of our contiguous states, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't checked the law on that though.
Well, just call me an outlaw then.
Mr. Depp, is the bottom text on this page a text exchange or a text message from you to your personal assistant, Stephen Duders, on September 3rd, 2015?
It's a funny name.
That's what it looks like, yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of this exhibit with that text and the appropriate redaction. Exhibit 470.
I wonder why they're not having the cat lady question, Johnny. Did you guys see the video where she's Amber Heard's the lady lawyer, the old lady? She's like Johnny Depp's fan, and she was like in the crowd at one of his fan meet and greets.
Sure, Nick, we believe you. It's never the whiskey. Never. Not at my in-laws' house.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Do I have a favorite bourbon?
Mr. Depp, in the effort to move this along, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to start with the word main bits, which is 5 lines down. You write to Mr. Duders on September 3rd, 2015. Main bits needed are Xanax and Adderall, and I want no judgment from Kipper or Debbie. Kipper means Dr. David Kipper, correct?
That's correct.
And Debbie means Debbie Lloyd, your sobriety nurse, correct?
That is correct.
Just found out from Joel last night how much I spent on having Kipper and Debbie around. Millions and fucking millions, mate. All the while, Debbie just hung around Broad, ECH, and gave me new meds like every 2 weeks. She was on set maybe 4 times. Wow. And 5 money symbols. Sorry, just how it is. Did I read that right?
You did.
Can we pull up exhibit 587, please? This is a recording, Your Honor.
Any reason for that text? How is that probative to this case?
The excerpts to be played are 1940 through 1953 and 2304 through 2329.
No objection, Your Honor.
Hmm.
Please go to my doctors and get Adderall and Xanax from them. And by the way, I don't want to hear any bitching because I paid them a whole lot of money.
Can't hear anything.
In that clip, Mr. Depp, you tell Ms. Herta, I'm never getting clean and sober, correct?
It sounds like yes, either that or I have. So,
Let's play 2304.
Picture of the Steven thinks it is nothing but her. And why? Because the cold food doesn't make it easier for you to see how clearly that is. You
gotta stop
all the coke you've done today, no food you drank today,
By the way,
has it helped you? Has it helped us? Has it helped us?
Fuck. You know, all these tapes are doing is making like every non-alcoholic drug user just be like, yeah, I probably would have to take drugs and drink alcohol to deal with this bitch.
About how you viewed Amber's role in that process, Mr. Depp. Can you please pull up plaintiff's exhibit 120_40?
Has anyone asked the question yet?
120_41 was admitted the other day, but I'd like to introduce this as a separate exhibit.
That's why paint's being weird. It's got a weird consistency that I'm used to.
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone asked a question yet, like in their minds, maybe not necessarily on direct or cross, but why does Amber have all these recordings? Why was their personal life
Mr. Depp, while they're looking at
recorded
that,
periodically?
second text from the bottom, a text
Sort
you
of.
sent
I'll explain in a
to
minute.
Amber's mom, Paige, on August 19th, 2014.
Yes, that's correct.
And this is when you were either in the middle of or finishing up a detox process from Rocky Code, correct?
That is correct.
No objection? No, okay. Until the end.
That is correct. With the other text messages redacted.
Oh, with the other text.
So they had briefly, they had talked about they would start recording their arguments because they were each pointing things out about the other that they weren't seeing. So they wanted to record them to show each other what they meant. But that was for some arguments. A lot of these are not those types of recordings, and clearly are being done from a purse or from
And
sort
in
of
this text message,
some sort of
that you
concealed
write
area.
Amber's mom,
Yeah.
August 19th, 2014. You say, "My dearest Paige, how unbelievably kind and pure your message was. I am beyond thankful to have you in my life. There is no luckier man on this earth to have the strength that Amber gives me and the full support of each of you individually that I've gotten helps immeasurably. I don't need to explain the horrors to you. You know as well as I. What you do need to know that your daughter has risen far above the nightmarish task of taking care of this poor old junkie. Never a second has gone by that she didn't look out for me or have her eyes on me to make sure that I was okay. YN words are truly feeble in attempting to explain her heroism in a text. Suffice to say that I have never met or loved a woman or a thing more. She has the strength of 1,000 men, and that is due to no one or nothing but you, sweetheart. Thank you. I love you. Your son, Outlaw." Did I read that correctly?
You did.
I'd like to take a look at another document.
What was that supposed to
Oh.
prove?
Okay.
72.
Again, why would you read that text or that email?
Well, I think the purpose behind that one is to show that at least in that brief period, him and Amber were on good terms and she was supportive and helpful. But it doesn't mean it didn't spiral out of control the next week and then never returned back to the same set. I think the date was like August of 2014. That's like the beginning of their marriage or relationship or whatever.
Is this a text message
Yeah.
that you shared, text message exchange between you and Amber the following day on April 20th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, permission to, or I need for the admission of Exhibit 272 and ask for permission to publish.
With the identifiers removed, we have no objection.
Yeah, it's at the beginning of their relationship. And remember, this is about him abusing her. Like, I think they like that junkie line, as if we don't know that he was a drug addict.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Depp, you testified on Thursday
That's
that
too
you saw
much.
nothing wrong with referring to Amber as a lesbian camp counselor when she was trying to get you to stop using drugs. But let's take a look at what you say
She
in
had
this
used
text.
that term before.
In this text, Mr. Depp, you say, "Just
Let
to
him
let
be.
you know that
Gee.
I'm fine, my angel. I miss you, of course, but this was the right thing to do to speed up the process. I love you more than life. Yours, Steve." Did I read that correctly?
You did.
You can take that down. Now, you
Why did the judge
lawsuit
let him
about the op-ed
testify there?
specifically, But for years prior to the date that Ms. Heard wrote the op-ed, there were numerous negative news stories about him. You agree with that, correct?
Objection compound.
For years prior to 2018, when Amber wrote the op-ed, There were numerous negative news stories about you that were released into the public, correct?
Objection calls for speculation. I'll allow it to you.
By 2018, you said?
Correct.
Yes, it all started with Ms. Hurd going directly to a court to get a TRO with a bruise on her face, paparazzi. That was the sort of beginning of the ball rolling down the hill and gaining momentum.
There were lots of negative stories about you prior to May 27th.
Let him speak.
When Amber was in court, correct?
Objection has been answered. No, it's 2016. I'll allow it.
There were plenty of negative stories about you prior to that date, weren't there?
So I've been in this racket of Hollywood since 1984.
Mr. Devin, I'm asking you a yes or no question. There were plenty.
Oh, what a dick. I hate this guy.
Correct?
Let him answer the fucking question.
They were both. So of course people write negative stories.
Sure. And you just testified to the jury that it all started on May 27th, 2016. So that's why I asked you to clarify about the negative stories prior to that date. And you'd agree that there were, correct?
Can you be specific about the stories? Of course there's negative stories.
I really wanted to say stories about me and Mrs. Hurd. No.
Numerous exhibits in one sort of compendium, all press articles about.
These are all hearsay, by the way. All of these articles are hearsay. You could also, if you're listening, hear Johnny Depp's team whisper hearsay. They should be objecting to all of this.
Your Honor, in having received this, I would like to preemptively lodge it hearsay, lack of foundation.
No, I'm happy to approach, but they're certainly not being admitted for the truth of the matter asserted, but I'm happy to approach and discuss.
They literally are being admitted for the truth of the matter asserted. You want the negative inference that all of these articles are drawing against Johnny Depp.
He just handed him a giant stack. It's a brilliant defense move.
Yeah. No, it's good because hopefully they printed out like every single page of every single article and made that stack thicker and thicker. So when he hands him a book, the jury sees a book.
Yep.
Stephen Cooper said, oh, wait, I read that one. Kaya Wee says, if Johnny Depp wins, it would be amazing if he donated all the money to the children's hospital that Amber never actually gave the divorce money to. That would be a good move. Ron White says, Nick, can the jury award punitive damages in addition to the $50 million? I'm not sure if they can in this case. Also, I don't know that punitive damages would apply really to, like, what punitive damage, if they're going to give, they're not going to give 50 million, but let's say hypothetically that they did award 50 million against an individual, there's no way in hell they're going to have a punitive damage on top of that. Amber Heard doesn't have $50 million. The punitive damages tend to come in when you have a particularly moneyed individual or corporation getting a small award, or having a small award against them for sort of a grievous thing. And so you need to proportionally punish them to deter the activity. Because otherwise, like, imagine if you sue Jeff Bezos and every time you sue Jeff Bezos, someone wins 50 grand. Well, that's not going to deter Jeff Bezos from doing an activity that would maybe otherwise be profitable to him. 50 grand is a pittance for him. So for Jeff Bezos, it'd be 50 grand plus punitive damages, maybe of a couple $1 million.
Okay, let's start mixing the eye color.
Not that much either, but you get the idea, to add some sting and deterrence to it. I don't think in this case, if you're gonna have a multi-million-dollar award against someone whose net worth is somewhere around $7 million, you're not gonna have punitive damages on top of it. Probably.
And punitive damages are usually only available in most states when there's like intentional act and it's clearly intentional and they prove it's intentional and or malicious, then punitive damage, unless if that's not even an option, if that's not present, then punitive damages are usually completely unavailable.
And that's so with. I'm not sure how it works in Virginia specifically.
I don't
Johnny Depp
either.
is he's a public figure, so they do have to show actual malice as part of the defamation. That may preclude them from winning punitive damages as it's an underlying element of the defamation. It may also not. It may then be a foregone conclusion that it was malicious, but I'm not familiar with Virginia's specific defamation law on that point. But yeah, what you said, there tends to have to show there's some level of consciousness to their actions beyond mere negligence. And defamation is normally a crime of a tort of negligence, except when you have a public figure, then it's actual malice. But
Yep.
But again, I think that if you've got a jury that's going to dole out a multi-million-dollar award already, they're not going to add punitive damages onto it against a single person, probably. But maybe they will. I mean, who knows? But again, not knowing the actual legal standard in Virginia, I'll see if I can maybe figure that out for tomorrow's stream, or a side video or something about it. C. Neal says, my sons call me a boomer because I like calls and not text. After this trial, I think I've proved my preference for talking. The phrase never in writing and always in cash is good for griping about your wife and hiring hookers. Yeah, man. I mean, all of these texts are being taken, and this is how it works in any trial where you have written material. You get to read them, especially as an attorney. You can't be too crazy dramatic, but he did something in one of those texts where there were two lines separated by ellipses, and he read those two lines together. He did not pause after the ellipses. Now, he didn't add a bunch of drama or inflection into it, but he read those two together, and it made one flow into the other when they were clearly delineated in the text by Johnny Depp. And in all the other times in that text, he stops at the ellipses because they were individual thoughts. But just that subtle way of reading it and just kind of storming through those two lines puts them together, and that's what the jury hears. And when they read it back, I mean, who knows if they'll remember what they hear or if they'll read it their own way when they look at it, if they even review that particular text message later. So putting things down in writing is risky business. You gotta be conscious of what you're doing. I can't wait. The day that I get sued and all my funny stuff gets read to the world, it'd be great. Because I'm a comedic genius at all times, and I never have ever said anything that I regret saying, I'm sure.
You're also the most humble YouTuber I've ever met.
No, well, nothing could ever come back to burn me. It's not like there's thousands of hours of video of me calling people horrific names or saying terrible, terrible things that can be taken out of context. Taco Jim says, I can't believe how cartoonishly evil Amber's team is. When Johnny wins, I hope John Malkovich plays Amber in the movie.
Oh, God.
Okay, that'd be funny. That would be good. I think John could pull it off. Put a wig on him. He looks like Willem Dafoe in Boondock Saints. That'd be great. Jared Anthony, thank you for the donation. Steve C says, Can I get a toast for my sanity? They are doing concrete remediation in my condo building, and it sounds like they are jackhammering in my living room. And awesome cutoff on the drive stream last night. Well, yeah, I forgot we were running out of time. And it cuts off on its own. To Steve C, may the pounding in your head be muddled by the dulcet tones of Johnny Depp on the stream today. And may the concrete remediation go quicker than expected. For you, sir, deserve a moment of peace and quiet. Cheers.
Mr. Detmer, you could please take a look at the stack of articles in front of you.
Yes, it's a stack of hit
Yes,
pieces
the first one is
generated
called
by
the,
Mr. Publicity Team.
Ooh,
Mr. Depp, we're gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible. I'm gonna ask you about the first one, but we're gonna talk about it. The first one is entitled, is from the Guardian. You see that?
Apparently, bro.
Yes, and this is an article from November 15th, 2014, entitled "Apparently Drunk Johnny Depp Cut Off at Hollywood Film Awards Ceremony." Correct?
That's what it says, yes.
The next article is an article from May 7th, 2016.
I would have objected. I don't know how they lost this foundation
It's
objection.
entitled "Johnny Depp, Friends and Family Seriously Concerned About Him. Here's Why."
Are these
How did they know?
self-authenticating?
The next article from May 1st, 2017, before Ms. Heard filed for a restraining order. A year and a half before she published. No, sorry, this would be after May 1st, 2017. The headline is "Johnny Depp has a clear and epic sense of entitlement," ex-managers say.
Yes.
In the Hollywood Reporter, correct?
I was in a lawsuit.
The next article from May 10th, 2017 is entitled "Johnny Depp, a Star in Crisis."
What happened? What the hell just happened? Oh no. This is bullshit. Not enough memory to open this page. Fuck you. Give me my fucking show.
Read that right.
You did.
There we go.
The next
Hmm.
article also from May 10th, 2017. Mr. Depp,
This is a pathetic.
Mr. Depp, please just respond to the question I'm asking.
What's
The next question, the next.
What's your question? That's a
An
good
article
question.
published in Vanity Fair on May 10th, 2017. It's entitled "Johnny Depp's Financial Woes Might Sink the Next Pirates of the Caribbean."
Okay.
That right.
We are done mixing the paints.
The next article, May 25th, 2017, a year and a half before the op-ed was published. An
Oh, look how
article
excited he
Where
looks.
did it all go wrong for Johnny Depp? After a string of flops and a ton of bad press, Johnny Depp's star power looks as wobbly as Jack Sparrow on a plane.
I cannot believe the judge is allowing this. By the way.
The next one, Hollywood Reporter, May 27, 2017. Headline, "Pirates of the Caribbean, the diminishing returns of Johnny Depp." Did I read that right?
You certainly did. Hollywood before the retirement.
July 12, 2017.
All right, I'm just gonna switch this out.
Johnny Depp's movies bombing the box office? Did I read that
And I have to adjust my camera.
Is he trying to argue that Johnny was already losing his wealth and in order to regain it, he's suing Amber Heard now? Really?
Headline, Johnny Depp allegedly showed up drunk.
Ow.
Would say. Did I read that correct?
Would say. This is hearsay.
June 21st, 2018, 6 months before the op-ed was published. Vanity Fair article. The real
Why is
reason
this all
Johnny
blurry?
Depp used an earpiece on a film set. Did I read that correctly? Oh, you did. June 21st, 2018.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm fixing my camera.
6 months before the op-ed was published. A Rolling
There we
Stone
go. Much
entitled
clearer.
"The Trouble with Johnny Depp."
It was super blurry. I'm sorry about that.
Lawsuits, a haze of booze and hash, a marriage gone very wrong, and a lifestyle he can't afford inside the trials of Johnny Depp. Did I read that right?
Okay.
You should read the article.
And the last one, 2018, Daily Mail, vodka for breakfast, 72-hour drug binges, and spending sprees that beggar belief. Alison Boshoff reveals why Hollywood's reeling over what's being called Johnny Depp's career suicide note. Did I read that correctly?
You did. Who's Alison Boshoff and how does she know?
Mr. Depp, you can't name a single actress who has benefited in her career by coming forward and stating that she was the victim of domestic violence.
I can.
I can't. Her name's Amber Heard.
I mean, come on now.
When Amber made
Leave that in. He's really good at trying to do those little tricks.
Greg Day got a lot of press attention, right?
Objection calls for
when Amber made abuse accusations against you in May 2016, you became aware that it got a lot of press attention, correct?
Very quickly, I became aware.
And she became associated with those abuse accusations that she made against you in May 2016, correct? To your knowledge.
Objection, calls for speculation.
You became associated with those domestic abuse accusations that she made against you, correct?
I think that's clear.
And you understood that she became associated with those same accusations that she made, correct? You testified.
Objection, you just sustained this.
She had a choice, I didn't.
And you talked about the immediate impact that those accusations on May 27, 2016 allegedly had on her.
Oh shit, knife. It's recording.
You testified earlier in your examination on direct that when Amber made those accusations in 2016, you said you lost, quote, nothing less than everything, correct?
That's correct.
But you didn't try to get the restraining order lifted in 2016, did you?
I don't. If she wanted a
It's a
restraining
yes or no
order.
question. You didn't try to get the restraining
No,
order.
why would I?
And you didn't have a divorce trial where you could respond to Amber's accusations of abuse in 2016, did you?
Objection, calls for legal.
I'm asking if you had a trial.
I'll allow.
You didn't have a divorce trial where you could respond to Amber's accusations of abuse, did you?
No, there were no charges pressed against.
You chose
Didn't
not
tell
to-
the police that I had done anything. You didn't mention.
And you didn't have a California divorce judge decide these facts, did you?
Objection, asked and answered.
You chose not to try to clear your name at that time through any sort of legal proceeding.
Objection.
Objection, asked and answered.
Yeah.
And you chose to sign a divorce agreement in which you stated that Amber had. not
Objection
made
asked and
any
answered
false
also.
statements for financial gain. You
Really
wanted
went
that,
through this.
correct?
Objection, asked and answered.
Nailed it.
In fact, you waited until Amber wrote the op-ed in the Washington Post.
He's just testifying
December
now.
of 2018 to file a lawsuit, correct?
Which is what you do on cross. He's not doing it wrong.
Two, please.
It was the only time that I was able to speak and use my own voice.
You chose not to sue the Washington Post in this lawsuit, correct?
It was an op-ed.
Objection, relevance, asked and answered.
You chose to sue only Ms. Heard and not the newspaper that published this article, correct?
Objection, calls
The
for
relevance.
You chose not to sue the Washington Post, correct?
Objection, relevance.
You only sued the author of this article.
Objection, relevance.
Correct.
Object again.
Which seems she was the one making the statements. Yes, I had the opportunity to fight that.
Permission to publish exhibit 2, Your Honor.
He was already in evidence.
Mr. Depp, you realize that the only job for this jury to decide, the only job is to determine
Objection
whether
calls for a legal
this
conclusion.
op-ed and this op-ed alone is the case.
Objection,
Calls for a legal conclusion.
This is the only writing that's the subject of this lawsuit that you brought, correct?
Same objection.
It's facts, Your Honor. You
I'll allow that question.
This is a version of that story of the op-ed that I have never seen. The one that was published before, the only one I've ever seen is the one that was published prior to this. They changed the title because they were in fear of trouble.
Move to strike that last. Whether it's the this
And there's emails, by the way.
only statement, the only publication of anything that's the subject of the lawsuit.
Dude, Roddenborn, you just got burned hard.
This op-ed, Mr. Depp, does not discuss any of the details of your relationship that we've seen in texts and emails and recordings over the past few days, does it?
Objection, compounded, asked and answered.
In fact, this article doesn't contain
Object
any
again.
details of your relationship with Ms. Heard.
Objection,
Objection.
asked and answered.
The only thing that this article states, Mr. Depp, is that in 2016, Amber made accusations of domestic abuse.
That's not true. It states a whole bunch of things. It's several paragraphs long.
was clear that she made allegations in 2016.
And she did that when she obtained a restraining order against you in 2016, correct?
He's trying to use the restraining order privilege.
Yes, well, yes.
And even if you
He'll use that
disagree
on
with
closing.
the accusations that she made against you in May 2016, it is a true fact that she did make those accusations in 2016 and got a restraining order against you, correct?
Objection compound estimate.
And calls for a legal conclusion. Well, he's fine with the sustained objections. He doesn't care about the answers. He cares about the questions. You know,
That's
They-
true.
he just wants to tell the
Your
jury what's
knowledge,
up.
The words that Ms. Heard used in this article about getting a restraining order against you in 2016, those are true, correct? The words that Ms. Heard used.
Document. All right.
You know what I'm realizing as I listen to these more, like when I'm watching Nick's show? Being a lawyer is kind of like playing a board game.
This poor Jerry's
And
working overtime
it's
on this.
just kind of like, I really like the board game Catan, and I play that all the time.
Then 2 years
And
ago,
the best way, the best way to win a board game is if you know all the rules and you know how to strategize to get the best one up than the other players. And that's kind of what's going on here. It just, how you play it.
and in 2016, for the first time publicly, Ms. Heard accused you of domestic abuse, correct?
In 2016.
Yes. That's good. No further questions.
Ladies and
Oh.
gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take
There
our
we
morning
go.
recess.
That was his.
Minutes.
That was his
Nothing
orgasm
outside
right there.
research and do not talk to anybody about the case. Okay, we'll come back.
I don't think he came, bro.
He'd been waiting to read off those articles. You could see it. He was so giddy. Yes, I'm gonna burn him with this.
Scum.
It did not work. I am not impressed.
No, his tirade there at the end. I mean, he's testifying to the jury is what that was his goal. I don't think he got his money's worth on that one at all. And props to Johnny's defense team. They were on the spot with the objections during that rapid fire stuff. Very, very well done. They were not missing much of anything. And they've been winning about 90% of the objections today. They're doing really well with that. So even disregarding that last spurt of just repeated objections of the exact same shit over and over, they're still doing really well with it. So but yeah, I mean, that his goal in this case was clearly to testify to the jury about what the case is about. They need that hyper-technical argument on defamation to win, because they know that there's a real chance that the jury thinks that their relationship was a wash and not abusive, but just tumultuous. And if the jury comes to the conclusion that she's not abused, but was rather the participant in a rocky relationship, then she has defamed Johnny Depp by making these allegations. I actually think he made some mistake there at the end by reminding people that she publicly accused him in 2016. Because if he loses on that hyper-technical aspect, and this is where I think Johnny Depp's team is going and has been going the whole trial, they want to bring in the idea that all of those prior statements are baked into the phrases in the op-ed. They want all of that to be cumulatively included. Now, that's not a legal standard, but they're not before a judge anymore. They're before a jury, and the jury can say, yeah, I mean, she's been lying about him for years leading up to this op-ed, and that was just that cut the rope. That was the ember that that broke the rope, or whatever you want, some idiom. Pick an idiom, it doesn't matter. And that's what they, I think, are going to argue and cross, is that all of this has been building to this op-ed, and this is where she dropped the axe. And this is what said it. This is what killed his career. This is what did all this stuff. And I think him drawing attention to the fact that she did this in 2016 really hurt them. And Now they get to go through, if they want to, all of those articles and let Johnny Depp explain each one of them. And one of the things he said is, these articles were hit pieces from her PR team. And if he wants to say that, go ahead and say it. What are they going to do? Object? But anyway, it's, whew, kind of some interesting rapid fire going on here.
For sure. I'm interested in seeing how Johnny Depp's team is going to rehabilitate him on Redirect, and what are they going to focus on, because I think there's so much has been thrown at Johnny on Cross. The smartest move for them would be to limit like the highlights, like the most important points, because the biggest mistake an attorney can make right now is to try and rehabilitate their witness on every single negative point that's been made, which is the jurors. You have to understand the jurors are people too. They're not stupid. Yep. They have their bullshit antennas going throughout the trial. They're listening. They're paying attention. They understand. Like, for instance, today, the whole, throwing against the wall? We hit a wall. Like, I hope to dear God they don't redirect on that, because that is going to that's too obvious. It's just a waste of time,
right.
Stuff like that. Leave it for the jury, because it's the obvious things they just need to leave. But certain things require clarification. Like, those tabloids had absolutely nothing to do with your relationship with Amber, and this lawsuit in no way, shape, or form is sparked by whatever Rotten Bottom is trying to prove on cross-examination. Yes, no, they need to clear up several points for sure. But I hope that if they're smart, they're going to limit their redirect to the most important highlights.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at IMDb here.
So, guys, please smash the like button if you haven't.
I'm curious when his last film was. So Johnny Depp's last feature film. Actor.
I keep calling him Rotten Bottom. I'm sorry, Rottenborn. I don't know why I keep saying that.
Okay, I googled his last name and it said Rottenberg.
2018 Fantastic Beasts, 2018 City of Lies. He had 5 movies in 2018, 5 movies in 2017, or 5 credits. 5 credits in 2017, 5 credits in 2018. A couple of those are feature films each year. 2016 he had 2 feature films and a TV movie. 3 feature films and a TV movie. So what he needs to do is just simply, they need to just ask, Mr. Depp, when was this article published, or this op-ed published? Such and such 2018. And what films have you done since then? Or what, when did you stop getting offers to do films? When did the script stop coming in? When did people stop talking to you about doing this? Well, 2018, when this op-ed hit. But you were doing movies between 2016 and 2018, weren't you? Yes, you were still getting proposals between 2016 and 2018, weren't you? Well, they can't do it this way. This is leading. Did you receive any movie proposals between 2016 and 2018? Yes. Did you receive any after 2018? No. Done. That establishes that timeline. So they need to do that, because this is one of the things that defamation cases do. This is such bullshit, and I've seen this in a case that I was covering a couple years ago. But they'll have these compound accusations that build up and build up and build up, and then there's something about whatever that cuts it, that says, now this is the thing. And they'll say, well, isn't it true that for the past 10 years people have made accusations against you? It's like, well, yeah, someone on some message board somewhere made an accusation that in some way mirrors this, and no one cared for 10 years about it. But it's this statement, it's this moment in time where everything comes crashing down. And so there's some sea change that occurs. Something about these statements make them more damaging than any of the ones that were prior. And so they do this, and they'll have cumulative accusations because they weren't working. If the goal is to harm someone, if Amber's been trying to harm Johnny Depp since 2016, I don't know if she has, but hypothetically, if she's been trying to harm his career and his person since 2016, and the statements weren't working, well, you find a different way to ask him and a different way to ask him until you hit your goal, and then you're done. You got it. But you can't say that that all of that other stuff, well, it was the same quality, because it clearly wasn't. It didn't do the job. But that's the trouble of defamation, especially now. And so that's why I think that Depp's team needs to be very adept at bringing together all of those accusations and incorporating them into this statement. All of that baggage was brought, and I think they should focus that this op-ed in the Washington Post wasn't a message to the public. Those public accusations had come and gone, the tabloids, and it wasn't working. This was a message to the industry. She was calling to the industry in a major publication in a way that other people have made their accusations by becoming, quote unquote, the face of domestic violence. She is trying to paint Johnny Depp as a villain for the industry insiders who know all of the drama and have refused to act until now. And I think that's how they do it. I could be wrong, but I think that's how they do that, personally.
I think it's a good assessment.
Thank you. Okay, we've got some super chats here to read. By the way,
I'll be
super
back
chats are
on,
all.
a little bit later, if that's okay.
Yeah, you gonna pop out for a bit?
Yeah.
All right, man. Have fun. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, man. I'll see you.
Yep. By the way, guys, DUI guy is in the description. If you want a guy who knows cross-examination in particular, but trial process, examination, you can go on DUI guy's channel. In the description, click on his name. It'll bring up his YouTube page. Check out some of his video. This guy has videos of himself destroying people on the witness stand. I mean, that's what he does. He does it really well. He breaks down their credibility. He raises questions for the jury. If you want to watch a guy who's an expert on DUI defense in specific, but really in how he does his examination and cross-examination of witnesses, how you raise doubt for a client, that's the guy, and you can watch him do it in real court with real results. So go check that out. He's a very interesting dude, and he's got a cool channel.
Look at Nick simping.
Satan the Sir Gaming and stuff says, came in a little late, so I don't know if it's been asked. What are your thoughts on the makeup company coming out and showing that Amber couldn't have used the makeup palette claimed because it came out in 2017? That's great for public opinion. They probably don't really care about it in court so much because it doesn't really matter, I guess. And calling too much attention to it might be useless, but I don't know. The question becomes, how does Johnny Depp's team get that in front of the court in a meaningful way? So for the case, I'm not sure it matters so much. For the public opinion piece of it, which is that is a critical element of their overall strategy, absolutely important and great. I know it proves she lies, but how do you get it in front of? Because it's a statement made by someone not in the lawsuit. It has to be, it's hearsay, specifically hearsay. So you have to bring it in. You already have your witness list established, and I'm guessing a representative from the makeup company probably isn't on it. How do you authenticate the statement? How do you get it in? How do you make it relevant to the case? These are the evidence challenges. Not that the statement isn't valid. It's just the process challenges of introducing that evidence. But right now, if they were to try and introduce that statement, that would be a hearsay statement. It's made out of court by someone who isn't there, right? By this company. And it's offered to prove the truth of the matter, that this makeup didn't exist. That's exactly why they would introduce it. Now, they may be able to, if she's dumb enough to talk about it on her direct exam, and she says, oh, I wore this foundation, then maybe they could raise it on cross to impeach her, but she would have to raise the issue. So right now, the only thing is the attorney asked Isaac Baruch, the crazy cat lady attorney asked Isaac Baruch if he was aware if Amber was wearing a particular cream. So it's not like in evidence that she was wearing a particular cream. It's a sneaky tactic to put in the minds of the jury that she may have been wearing this particular foundation, but it's not in evidence that she was wearing that foundation. So there would have to be testimony that she was to impeach the testimony that she did. That makes sense. So, will Amber testify? Almost for certain. Her not testifying would be a grave mistake. Her testifying will probably be the same. But ROC destination being not from America. From what point on does a jury decide and not a judge anymore? The jury will decide the outcome of this case. The judge is to deal with the procedural issue of this case. So the judge is to weigh evidence and make legal determinations. The jury will make fact determinations. And at the end, the jury will have constructed a factual scenario and apply the law to it, apply the legal standard of defamation to those facts that they agree, that they decide on in their deliberation room. So, but they will decide who wins the case. And they will decide, I believe the jury will decide what the award is as well. The judge is just there to be a referee between the two sides as they make their cases. So, good question. I hope that helped answer it. C. Neil says, you need to do a poll. How many viewers have been going through their phones, erasing text messages, griping about their spouses to friends? I got asked this weekend, have you ever texted? No, ma'am. Erase, erase, erase. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Josh Vermillion says, super chatted earlier about a DUI hearing I had today. I won. Full license reinstated. Effing finally only took 16 years. So here's a celebratory tip. Thanks for all the great coverage. Josh, that's fantastic. 16 years to be vindicated on that. Whew. Congratulations, brother. DCB Titan says yes, because he's going to text your daughter is a massive cahoots and deplorable female dog to a lady that he claims to really like and get along with. I mean, Amber is the problem, not her mom. Oh, yeah. And that's what DUI guy was talking about. Don't rehab him on everything. Don't go through every text message that he sent that was negative. Maybe hit a couple of them. Maybe hit a couple explaining the way he texts. Talk about the dramaticness. Does he remember any of the specifics of any of these instances?
Ask him what his favorite Monty Python movie is.
You know, the ones he may want to think about are the ones where he talks about burning her and drowning her and burning her and then violating her corpse, right? What's going on here? Yeah, we were actually talking about a book, or we were talking about a potential script, or we were talking about something, whatever the explanation may be. Or maybe they shouldn't, right? Like if the explanation is, no, I was literally going to kill her. And I was contemplating how. Like if that's the explanation, you don't want that. You don't want Johnny looking like a maniac. But if you have a
Let
good
me turn this down a bit.
it, use it. But don't go through every single thing. Not worth doing. But again, rehabbing on the finger is important.
Oh,
you lied to
good.
Did you lie
Just
to
popped on my knuckles.
Finger? Yes. Why? I wanted.
What's up, everyone? Please smash the like button.
Why did you want to?
Oh, Russell, thanks for the super chat. You going on a 10-year trip into space and can bring a dildo modeled after one of two celebrities, either Orlando Bloom or Henry Cavill. Who's coming? Whoever brings the dildo, Russell.
The publicity came in.
Oh shit! Did I start my?
Severed it off. We weren't ready to end it. I wasn't ready to end it. There you go. Do that. Have that type of testimony come out about the finger. So I lied about it. I certainly didn't chop off my own finger. Why would I? I get my solace from playing guitar. How did this impact your playing guitar? I wasn't able to play guitar until my finger was rehabbed, and in fact, I'm a little slow switching chords now. It makes it harder. It hurts after an hour of playing.
Oh, poor Johnny
It
Depp.
hurts. Why does it hurt? Well, it hurts because Amber Heard chopped it off. That cool bitch. Do stuff like that. You want to get to why he did this. You want to get to how ludicrous it would be to chop his own finger off. You want to get to all of those things to rehab those particular issues, because I don't personally have too much of a problem. Like, I get the finger text, but that's one where you could have some confusion, because he needs Amber Heard to have chopped off that finger, right? That's the abuse. That's massive abuse. No one can look at that and say, oh yeah, she's fine. Squizgar says this judge needs to be removed and run out of town on a rail. I don't know if I agree with that. Don Travis says, sending a box of goodies to you and the family today. Just a way to say thank you for the long hours and laughs. Hey, thank you, Don. I really appreciate that. Lancelot652 says, tabloid pieces. Are we using bored housewife trash as evidence now? Well, we are using Amber. Come on. Okay. Joy Mays, thank you for the donation. Crudest Rue says, why do I feel that Johnny Depp's lawyers are out of work SAG actors that said, I once watched my grandma watch a Law and Order episode? So, no, I think that Johnny Depp's lawyers are doing fine today. They're doing well on objections. They were on top of it. They've been much better today than they were the first couple days. And Thursday, they were very good too. And now we'll get to see how they do on redirect. They may be trash on redirect. I hope not.
Redirect.
Oh, they're back. Okay, turn up the volume.
Russell Hall, thank you, Mr. Whose dick would you rather bring into space? Peaches.
Could we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1? Mr. Depp, is this the version of the op-ed that you recognize?
Yes, ma'am.
I would move Exhibit 1, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1 into evidence and ask that it be published to the jury. Any objection? All right, 1 in evidence and published. Mr. Depp, when did you see Ms. Heard's December 18th, 2018 op-ed for the first time?
It was presented to me by one of my team. I can't remember, but it was within a day or so of it. A couple of days of it having been written, I believe.
And what was your reaction when you saw it?
Fucking pissed.
Shock.
Why were you shocked?
Because at that point, it had been a good solid 2 or so years of this, of the accusations, of the allegations, planted firmly on my back, so something that I carried with me. And I just couldn't believe that it was continuing. That it was continuing in such a way that it was clear that the more bad press, the more hit pieces that came out of me, the more of these stories of Ms. Heard and her righteous chase
Fucking bitch.
against me. It wasn't stopping.
Russell Hall, thank you, Mr. Pieces isn't an option, one or the other, Anna. Okay, well, I haven't seen one of the gentlemen specimen. I have seen Orlando Bloom's. I haven't seen Henry's. So, I would need to know the stats to make an educated guess. I would give you the actual answer, Russell, if I knew the stats of Henry. I unfortunately don't. If you give me celebrities that I do know the stats of, I will answer.
Or, yeah, the blinding hurt. It was like somebody hit me in the back of the head with a 2x4. And as I said, I had no ability to speak prior to, because even if I had done an interview to try to explain myself, it turned into a hit piece. So my mouth was shut. And this was the opportunity where I thought something's got to be done. So it's just got to be done. I couldn't take it anymore.
When did you first learn that Disney was not going to recast you in the Pirates franchise?
Russell, I don't think I can read that.
Good question.
Thank you for the super chat,
2 or
though.
3 days after this op-ed appeared,
Excellent.
one of my crew, again, don't remember who had sent me, a piece that was in some magazine, and Sean Bailey, who was the number 3.
I don't know yet. I'll rule it.
Yeah, I continued on.
Yes.
Sean Bailey, who was the third in line, I suppose, in the upper echelon of Disney. Just basically said in the
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor,
This is present sense
this is
impression.
about him learning about this is not for the truth.
Okay, so this is one of the tough hearsay objections. So she's asked him how he learned about Disney.
Russell thinks I'm just saying Henry Cavill could be a grower. Well,
Telling how.
I guess you can't.
He's trying to say what this guy
I wouldn't
said,
know.
And they're saying hearsay, but it has to be to prove the truth of what the guy said.
Mr. Jeff, could you please explain to the jury who Sean Bailey is? I'm confused. We're starting to.
Yes, I'll try again.
Looks like Depth
Sean
Team won that
Bailey
objection.
is the number 3, or was at the time. I don't know what his status is anymore, but at the time he was the number 3 upper echelon of Disney top dogs, and Sean Bailey was quoted as saying that
Objection, hearsay.
Mr. Jeff, where was Sean Bailey quoted? Without getting into what he was quoted as saying.
he was quoted in whatever the article was that I was that brought to my attention.
And can you please just clarify what article you're referring to?
I don't know what the journal it came from. I don't know what magazine. I don't know what. Oh God, so I don't know. I don't know who did the interview.
That's a lack of motivation. Approve objection.
Mr. Depp, how did you feel when you learned that you were being dropped from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise?
Who made the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean franchise?
Well, it was Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. It was the character that Captain Jack Sparrow was a character that I had built from the ground up, and was something that I of course put a lot of my, as you do with all characters, but you put a lot of yourself into the character. So, and also having worked on these films with these people, and having added much of myself, much of my own rewriting of the dialogue and scenes and the jokes and whatever they are, I didn't quite understand how that after that long relationship and quite a successful relationship, certainly for Disney, that they would, that suddenly I was guilty and guilty of an innocent.
Up until the point that you learned that you were not going to be in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise any longer, what was your intention with respect to the future Pirates movies?
The last thing that I knew from the I said the producer team, the creative team, and there were many discussions. I, in fact, had been approached to take part in the writing.
Oh my god. Let him answer the fucking question.
What was your intention with respect to future Pirates movies? Aside from what you've been asked to do.
My feeling was that these characters should be able to have their proper goodbye, as it were. A franchise can only last for so long. And there's a way to end a franchise like that, and I thought that the characters deserve to have their way out, to end the franchise on a very good note. I planned on continuing until it was time to stop.
It's all good. This all came after that article.
Mr. Depp,
Right after it.
Last week, Mr. Rottenborn asked you about a quote where you said you wouldn't come back to the Pirates franchise for $300 million and a million alpacas. Do you remember that?
I do.
When relative to learning that you would no longer be a part of the Pirates franchise, did you make that statement?
I think long before I made the statement, there was a very deep and distinct sense of having been betrayed by the people that I had been working with, the people that I had worked hard for, people that I had delivered a character to that they initially despised, but somehow, even I stuck to my guns with the character and it seemed to work. So,
Do you recall when specifically you made that statement about the $300 million and the 100 alpacas?
He actually didn't answer when at all.
I believe I made that statement during a press conference in the San Sebastian Film Festival when I was asked about my situation.
And what year would that have been, if you can recall?
Either it was last year or so.
Can we please pull up plaintiff's exhibit?
Can we buy Johnny Depp an alpaca farm?
Mr. Depp, do you recognize this document?
So my eyes go on. Hopefully it will. It's done on the brothers, yes. 4 and 5, yes.
What is this document?
What is it?
Don't quite know. I'd have to read it to get some understanding of it.
Please scroll through to a picture that can look at the rest of this document.
We have no idea what's actually on the screen, so it's hard to say if it should be obvious what the document is. Is it a contract? Is it an article?
This appears to me to be some species of contract.
Okay, so it's a contract. Okay, if he can't identify this
Is it a
contract,
that you entered into.
With Disney.
Your Honor, I asked that plaintiff's exhibit
they should object.
104 be moved into evidence and published.
Object, lack of foundation.
I think it's outside the scope of the record. I'll rule on that. And I'll reserve other judgments.
Business records exception, Your Honor. So they're going to object that this contract is hearsay, but I would state that it's a business record. It's kept in the ordinary course of this type of business. It's an authenticated document. They should have objected to foundation because it didn't look like he recognized it at all. This is some sort of contract, isn't it? Woo! Very, very shaky. Very, very shaky on that one. They really need Johnny Depp to know what's in that.
Can you turn it up a bit? I'm just going to move my mic closer to my
You could hear
speakers.
that lawyer's nerves shattering. Like, please recognize the
Is that better?
Scroll down to his stupid signature. Scroll down now. Woo. All right, turn the volume back on, please. Where's the volume? Can the court turn the volume? Thank you.
Mr. Depp, if I could direct your attention to section 6 of the contract, which is on pages 8 to 10 of the document. Mr. Depp, what does this reflect?
It appears to be the agreement of parts 4 and 5. Compensation and merchandise.
Mr. Depp, at this time, how many other franchise films have you been a part of?
Like a lot, love.
I was in Wonderland. I was in Wonderland.
These are just franchise films.
I'm so pathetic when it comes to knowing what movies I've done. I'm sorry. I just I don't watch them. I feel better not watching them.
I think just Alice in Wonderland.
What was the question again?
How many?
I have order in the court, or I will have you removed. Understood?
How many other franchise films have you been a part of at the time of this contract?
There was a third. There was Pirates. There was with Warner Brothers, Fantastic Beasts, and Where to Find Them, and Transit in the World.
Oh yeah, Fantastic Beasts.
How does the compensation reflected in this contract compare to that, what you received from the other franchises that you've been a part of? You just established that he was a member of other franchise films.
How would he not know his own compensation? Are-
I would believe it actually.
Are you serious? You dummy. How could he know what his own money was?
I believe the compensation, obviously, all of the pay and back end and all those things are negotiated by agents, lawyers, and this was comparatively, this was this is my salary on that film, and other salaries were of a similar status, I suppose.
If I could direct your attention to the 12th page of the document.
Yes.
Is this your signature, Mr. Beck?
Yes, it is.
Put this down, thank you. Mr. Depp, I recall
I'm just
that
baffled
you
by that.
testified that you don't know during a given period what movies you were working on. So my question is, who would know that?
Well, first and foremost, it's my agent, or agents. I do recall a couple of the other films that I made after. One was initially called Richard Says Goodbye, and that was, they changed the name to The Professor, and during all of the, the nastiness over the past 6 years, that film went straight to pay-per-view. There was another film called Minamata. It was produced, it was my company, Infinitive Nile. We had developed a film called Minamata about Eugene Smith and the Minamata, well, the mercury poisoning of a very small fishing village in southern Japan. There was that one, and then there was a film called Waiting for the Barbarians with one Mark Rylance and Robert Pattinson. Those were 3 films that I've done.
Mr. Depp, during your cross-examination, Mr. Rottenborn showed you a number of text messages between you and Paul Bettany. Do you remember that?
I do.
Could you please explain to the jury what your relationship with Mr. Bettany is?
But Mr. Bettany and I had, we'd met while I was making a film called The Tourist in Venice.
I love that
we
movie.
were,
It's fun. Well, I shouldn't say I
it was
love it.
an
I think it's
instant
amusing.
connection. He's born and bred in the UK and has that English sort of dry, kind of obtuse, abstract sense of humor, and that was one of the things that we connected on. Is, taking, even if it was a difficult or unpleasant situation, we would, do our best to deal with it with humor, as opposed to just a constant complaint or whining or anything of that nature. We dealt with it with humor, albeit sometimes as these are private texts that have to, there was a lot of in context. It's important to know that none of it was ever intended to be real, and the language that's used which yes, I am ashamed that that has to be spread on the world like peanut butter.
This is his text about drowning her and burning her.
For example, the text that is about burning Ms. Heard is it's directly from Monty Python in the sketch about burning witches and then drowning the witches. This is a film that we'd all watched when we were 10, and it's just irreverent and abstract humor. That's what we were referring to in this case.
The text message that you just referenced,
There
other
you
than
go.
Mr. Bettany, who else saw that text message at the time that it was sent?
No one, of course not.
Based on your own observations, how would you describe Mr. Bettany's relationship with Ms. Heard while you and Ms. Heard were together?
Abominable.
Why was that?
Ooh,
Um,
abominable.
Ms. Heard despised Mr. Bettany mainly because we had become such close friends, and for her he was a threat, and would take me away from her with regard to if Paul Bettany was getting the attention from me. That was a showstopper. It would cause all kinds of unpleasantries.
It's not hearsay.
Where when we were on the island with Mr. Bettany, his wife, and his 4 children, Ms. Heard and Mr. Bettany got into some debate over lunch, and I just remember that whenever Mr. Bettany tried to make a point, she would talk over him, and then it started to get quite rude. She got mean, and she got loud, and then I believe it was his 18-year-old boy who was getting ready to go to a really very bright, brilliant kid. He entered the conversation because it was something to do with what he'd studied in school, and he knew quite a lot about it. He voiced his opinion, and Ms. Heard demeaned that young man to the point of where he burst into tears.
Whoa!
Walked away, and it was at that point that I had spoken to Ms. Heard and said that's just unacceptable. That behavior is unacceptable. You have no right
You married such a cunt.
to demean that boy. You cannot always be right. You should try being wrong sometimes because you might learn something. And then I asked her to, I thought it was best that she leave. Yeah.
Damn. Send her home.
Please pull up to
Get on the plane and get the hell out.
Mr. Depp, I think this is another text message with Mr. Bettany that you were shown on your cross-examination.
Well, we have over 20,000 live viewers. It's crazy. Please, while you're here, go ahead and like the video if you like the
And
coverage.
directing your attention to the text message at the top of the page from May 30th, 2014.
Heard's
recognize
words
this text message you sent to Paul Bettany?
were an exception to hearsay because they were against her interests, by the way. That's why he was able to talk about
Could you
what
please
she
describe
did
to the
and
jury
said.
what you are conveying to Mr. Bettany in this message?
This again is, this is I suppose, an example of the way that I write and express myself. That is to say, you stretch the, you stretch your situation out to give him the understanding that you're drowning, essentially. So everything that I say here is, in fact, an impossibility for the human body. I would have been, well, I would have certainly at least had to be rushed to the hospital for a stomach pump. There's a line here that, if you don't mind, I say that when I say I'm done, I am admittedly too fucked in the head to spray my rage at the one I love. For little reason as well. I'm too old to be that guy. The pills are fine. Pills that were referenced were the pills that that I was coming off of. And they were the only thing that could give me some semblance of the same numbing effect that I searched for as a child with my mother. And saying that I was too messed up in the head was, it's kind of like if you've been told since you were a child that everything you do is wrong, and that I shouldn't have even been alive, or whatever, joyous little treats that my then very sick, very ill mother brought to me. Missouri was well aware of my past, my childhood, therefore was very adept at knowing exactly which buttons to push. So at this point, I mean, I felt like, well, I was that little boy again in my head, but I guess I am incapable of doing anything right. I guess I will never be happy. I guess that this is
Self-defeatism and self-doubt.
who I am. I can't get along with this person. But it's confusion. It's nothing that you can. It's nothing that anyone could sustain for any length of time. It's nothing that anyone should have to sustain for any length of time when you're being demeaned, berated, judged, and treated like a lesser animal, and treated as if I'm only surrounded by yes men, and that I'm a bad father, and that these things were endless. They were endless. There was a call for them. It's hard to understand why someone that is supposed to love you could be that cruel. And there were some times where you just say, okay, I'm going to try to not have I won't fall for the argument. I won't participate in the argument. because I knew where it would go, into her circular pattern of psychological abuse.
It's like an ocean vortex, right? Just sucking everything in.
What do you mean when you use the term blackout in this text message?
Blackout. Yes, because I'm talking about 1,000 Red Bulls and vodkas, 1,000 of them, 2 bottles of champagne, no food for days, half a bottle of whiskey.
I wish you would have just said he was talking about Amber Heard's behavior there on the plane. That would have been funnier.
Those things, had that been all absolutely true, would have not only caused a blackout, but it would have caused severe alcohol poisoning, overdose. I would have had to have gone immediately. If that were true, I would have had to be taken to a hospital or I'd just die. So, no, blackout is when someone gets so drunk on alcohol, essentially.
Is he really explaining a blackout?
But the pills that I had my addiction, that I was addicted to, the oxycodone, which are very, very powerful opiates. Two of those would knock me out. That is to say, so there's blackout, which is you can be a person can be wide awake and wreaking havoc, or having a giggle in a blackout and never remember it. But when you are when you've taken the prescription medication, it knocks you out. You are certainly not, well, you're not in any condition to, first of all, swing at anyone. You are out. You go on what's called the nod, and then it takes you away into sleep. It's just very deep sleep. And I found that much more accepting than having to hear constant badgering and insults.
Mr. Beck, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 153, which I believe Mr. Rottenborn also showed you last week. Do you remember seeing this during Mr. Rottenborn's examination of you last week?
Yes, I did.
Now, I'd like to show you the full text exchange, which is in Plaintiff's Exhibit 120. And since there's been a number of text messages drawn from this document, this would be Plaintiff's Exhibit 120C.
Which page would that be underscore?
This would be 4 and 5, Your Honor.
So someone earlier was asking about inside and outside
These text messages.
the
Yes,
scope
I
of
do.
redirect. I'll finish this thought in a minute.
All right, move Plaintiff's 120C into evidence and ask that it be published to the jury.
All right, 120C in evidence. Okay.
So
Mr.
reader-
Beck, who are you communicating with in these text messages?
She keeps cutting me off. It's very rude. Very
In
rude.
fact, though it says Marino, these are texts between my ex, let's say the Vanessa Cardi, the mother of my children. And this is again, abstract humor that we're conveying back and forth to one another. This was all, it was a joke. It certainly wasn't about this heard. We didn't speak it very much together.
Do you recall what you were talking about?
I don't recall who it was. I don't recall who it was, but it was someone who had, for some reason, I think it was, oh, I think the possibility is that it might have been, we had a nanny at one point, who we, in fact, we had, we found her, she was caught stealing, even from my, at the time, my, maybe 10, 11-year-old boy, Jack, who was bright enough, because he knew it, he was bright enough, he had a $5 bill that he wadded up and put on his desk in his bedroom. And when he came home from school,
Your Honor, I'm just going to object to that. Question is, who is
We can move on.
Okay.
Mr. Duff, I'd also like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 143, which I believe Mr. Rottenborn also showed you last week. Do you remember seeing this email exchange? You could scroll down as well, please. Thank you.
oh yes.
Yes.
Who are you exchanging these emails with?
Stephen Duders, who was at the time my assistant.
And what are you and Mr. Duders discussing here?
Gobbledygook, essentially. It was, as I remember, it was a day of work, and there were times when I would send a text to Mr. Duders because he was worrisome type. I would send him a text in jest, of course, and to get a rise out of him, to get some reaction out of him. So, you know, I would tell him things like, I woke up and I'm bleeding profusely from the inside of my ear. Is that normal? You know, it would be things like that. So this is exactly the same kind of thing. I think we were even referencing The Hangover, the film The Hangover.
Lockton, he does have problems with his eyes.
Mike Tyson.
He's legally blind in his left eye.
Cheese next loud.
Bizarre circus that I was telling him that I had in my room, and that there was blood everywhere. It was a joke to just sort of throw him off, worry him, and ultimately it's a joke, and we were laughing.
No, he meant literally that
Mr. Duff,
there's
what if
blood
any
everywhere.
portion of this email exchange is literally true?
Oh, the stupid StreamYard tried to balance my audio. Sorry. It's not. It's
We're all set.
StreamYard is stupid.
1:30 p.m. Hope you rested well.
I did not turn up the mic, guys.
Mr. Duff, I'd like to talk to you about some text messages that Mr. Rottenborn showed you where you refer to the monster, and this is in the context of in conversations that don't include this. Do you remember seeing some of those communications?
Kind of rambly.
Yes.
First, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 427, please, which is a text message from you to Jerry Judge.
By the way, welcome to the show, Joe.
Oh, wow. Thanks. Thank you so much. It's
How
privilege
are
being
you
here the first
using
time
the
ever.
monster in this context when you're communicating with Mr. Judge?
The monster could essentially,
What the fuck is eating?
the monster could, it could be two separate things. The monster in her eyes was my,
Objection is to what the monster was.
Not necessarily.
It's his state of mind,
Rephrase.
not the truth of the matter.
the monster was defined by Ms. Herb
Here you go.
as this out of control thing.
Oh no, this is a party admission.
Mr. Depp, how do you know how Miss Heard
Oh, no.
Why are you giving up on that?
She said the words to me.
And what words did she say
Either.
with respect to the term
What's up,
monster?
guys?
It was her go-to phrase, and it was the go-to phrase for me being, again, you know, as has been embellished and elaborated, the drug use or the drink or whatever. But the monster was, for me, and again, you start to think about these things and you put it in your own head, what the real context is. The monster was sobriety. The monster was trying to be sober because I was plagued by these requests to stop drinking. But the monster could also be if a conversation, if something starts as a conversation, which would quickly ramp up to quite an antagonizing argument. If I responded to her, if I took part in the verbal back and forth where people do in life end up saying obscenities, screaming obscenities at one another, or calling them names, or when it gets to that point, I mean, the monster was just, for me, was just the guy who actually was dumb enough to continue to take part in arguments that would ultimately get nowhere.
Not a great answer. Nobody believes that's the monster.
So
I agree with you on
that is
When he's drunk or
one
high,
of the
sure, call that the
reasons
monster.
why
Yeah, calling sobriety the monster is a
away
tough sell.
from Ms. Herb and not participate in her debates and her
I actually like this redirect until this point.
Circular and painful.
I might
insults
switch
that
over
were
to Tug if these guys keep talking over
constantly
Johnny.
rapid fire. So I stopped participating. I tried to walk away. I tried to go to another room, even to the point of locking myself in rooms so that she just could pound on the door and scream. That was clearly a mistake. I should have never fallen for that or taken the bait to allow myself to get into a conversation which led to an argument, which led to physical violence. It was not good, so I just walk away, which drove her through the roof.
So, Mr. Depp, why would you use the term monster when,
He really needs to
when communicating with people other than
focus
Miss Heard?
these answers a bit, though.
His own lawyer has to ask him over and over again to try to get the right
Lawyer.
answer.
Because I heard it all the time.
The lawyer needs to be more pointed.
And it was, as I said, that was her go-to. The monster. The monster's here. The monster's back. The monster. So I would refer to the monster again in terms of with Elton or with friends Patty and Smith. The monster was like with Elton, it was just the monster was I I let the monster creep back in or something. That is sobriety. That's what I'm telling him is I have failed, and I've had a drink or been drinking, but my drinking again was not to excess. It was really I would never run into blackouts or anything of that nature. I was disappointed in myself.
I think the monster should have been Amber.
For not staying there. Although when you are constantly in a position to be harassed by your beloved other, what else could I do? I wanted to be numb. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to feel that, especially from one who had professed such love for me, but gave me mostly hatred.
Your Honor, I'm about to switch subjects, so this would be a good time for the lunch break.
We start a little later, so I don't mind going.
Nope.
Mr. Duck, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 161. I believe Mr. Rottenborn showed you this last week and again today.
Yes.
Do you recognize these text messages as between you and Ms. Heard?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Why are you informing Ms. Heard that there's a book called Disco Bloodbath?
When I texted her, 2:30 in the afternoon, I was in a bookstore, a used bookstore, bookstore that had a lot of first editions and things like that, which was sort of passion. And I saw a book called Disco Bloodbath, and I thought it was a funny title. I can't say that was necessarily referencing anything other than I thought it was a funny title, Disco Bloodbath. It sounded like a sort of a bad slasher movie to me. So I said, just thought you should know that there exists a book titled Disco Bloodbath. That's all. And she said, we need that book. And then she asked me, is it about last Friday night by any chance? And then my answer to her, how can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? The fact is that this is a light-hearted exchange that she's even saying, we need that book. Then she makes reference to last Friday night, which I don't recall what last Friday night was or whatever, so I just how can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? A hideous
That's
moment.
a good explanation. Wrap it up.
Some grotesque thing that we saw on television. It could have been anything.
It could have been a fight. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Fight.
He should have just said that they had sex and she was on her period. That's what she...
Disco Bloodbath. So this was not a.
He needs to tighten it up, though.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wrap it.
Shut up.
Exchange whatsoever. It was very lighthearted.
Mr. Duck, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 375, which is another document Mr. Rottenborn showed you last week.
Yeah, on that one, like,
could you please remind the jury?
couples make light of big fights later when they've resolved it.
This is from Australia. on March 8th, I believe it was, where after my finger had been, the tip of my finger had been taken off, I began to, I was in such shock, I just started writing on the mirror, on walls, and basically what these were for me to make heard were reminders of moments in our past where I had caught her, where it was revealed to me, even by her, that she had been caught in lies that she had told me. So that's what these are in reference to. The red, the lipstick, it says, call Carly Simon, call Carly Simon. She said it better, babe. In reference to You're So Vain, I imagine. But that's not, I didn't, the Carly Simon message is not mine, that's Miss Heard's.
So let's just break this down a little bit. Who wrote the text that's in black on the mirror?
That would be me.
And what does that say?
She loves, I don't know, that's like naked Hollywood or something. An artist of, I don't know what the rest is, but it's, what that is Ms. Heard had come to me and she was seemed to be seriously concerned about how she was being portrayed in Hollywood. She was concerned that because she had done films where there was kind of arbitrary nudity and things of that nature, she had voiced to me that she did not want to be, she didn't want to be looked upon that way in the industry. She wanted to be able to escape the chains of being objectified.
All she does is objectify herself.
The Hollywood system, which is a difficult thing for any woman, certainly, unfortunately. But she asked me, how can I avoid being stereotyped as the beautiful blonde who gets her breasts out or goes naked and has to.
Why would you want to be something else?
Act like an ugly bitch.
And I gave her my advice on it, on how to avoid it, which I thought was pretty accurate, and her ambition was stronger than what she received from my advice. What it was.
Do you think this is good? It doesn't strike me as good. It's not bad. It's just not helping.
I thought long and hard about it because I did care for it and I did understand. I didn't want.
It's interesting.
Shut up.
That and
see more of a glimpse of the
my
damn it.
career.
Okay, I'm gonna switch to Tug in a
I
minute.
was put in a position where, I could have gone on. I could have been just a guy who was on a TV series for a couple of years, and then what was going to be left of me would be on lunch boxes and thermoses and posters and teen idol things, and I fought that tooth and nail because I didn't. That's not who I was. So I had experienced something similar in terms of being looked upon as something that you're not. So I fought against it, in the very beginning, and it worked out for me.
That's true. He did a great job of transitioning from Pretty
I was
Boy
reading it
to
basically the
Serious
same
Shut up.
way.
Now, Mr. Depp, you said that you did not write this portion that's in red here that says Carly Simon said it. Call Carly Simon, she said it better be. Is that right?
Yes, no, that's not mine.
Big smiley face.
How do you know that it was Miss Heard that wrote that?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Ruled out.
There are
How do you know is a foundation question.
it's well, first it
Foundation for
doesn't,
foundation, he wants.
looks like it's trying to match my handwriting, but my handwriting is a lot more of a scribble. And also, there's another photograph of this where she went in to make sure that there were that the red was more prominent. I believe there's also a napkin down there where
Objection, Your Honor,
someone
lack
what
of foundation is ridiculous. Aren't in evidence.
All right,
I have no idea whether they even exist.
I'll state the objection now. Next question.
Do you recall whether the lipstick writing was on the mirror when you wrote in the black?
No, of course.
No, you don't recall or know it wasn't there.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you one of the text messages that Mr. Rottenborn showed you concerning the injury to your finger. So if we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 398. This is a text message from you to Dr. Kipper that I believe Mr. Rottenborn showed you on cross-examination. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And why are you apologizing to Dr. Kipper in this message?
I believe that at that point in my brain and in my life and in my heart, I was completely and utterly frustrated with how I had to, or how I was living my life, and I had some disagreement with Dr. Kipper, and I was apologizing to him for having gone against his wishes, or gone against his advice, let's say.
What did you mean when you said, I have chopped off my left middle finger as a reminder that I should never cut my right finger off again?
It's my way of dealing with a painful situation. It's my way of dealing with a painful situation where I resort to humor. So I have lost the tip of my right finger, and so I'm saying to him, I've now cut off my left finger to remind me never to cut my right finger off. That's not.
He rarely says she severed my finger. He almost never says that.
Shush.
Could be because it was an accident.
Oh my God, let him talk.
Doesn't necessarily mean that you did it yourself. And again, I'm a guitarist and have been since I was 12, and that was the only piece that I found.
All right, ready for detail. What do you guys think of this so far?
Where I knew
Let me turn down the brightness on
what
here.
I knew who I could escape into music and learn music. And the last thing, I'm a guitar. I mean, I still play the guitar with. It's still my first love, aside from my children. Still my first love. There's no reason in the world why
I'll tell you, yes, you guys said that yesterday.
we cut my own finger off to ruin this beautiful opportunity that I was given at 12 to learn how to play the guitar. And again, why would I start lopping off digits in my 50s if I as Mr. Rottenborn suggests, am a kind of walking tantrum. When I was younger, why wouldn't I just start chopping off fingers or some kind of, why would I ruin the only thing that was really good in my life aside from my children? So when this finger went, the tip of this finger went, the only thing I could think in my mind was, thank God it wasn't the left hand, it was just the fret hand, and the right hand. So that's the fret, that's where the fretboard is. If you lose a finger from your left hand, I'm not Django Reinhardt, who had only 2 fingers to play with. If I'd have lost a finger from here, I would have had to relearn how to play the guitar all over again. It's just not the case. Even though I say I've chopped my finger off, it's like saying, I bumped into a knife or something. It's not.
Yeah, we get it. Just wrap it up.
I think if I was going to admit to someone,
I do think this is more
finger,
likable, like why people like him so much. Is
wouldn't be
this kind of an explanation.
It would have been a long explanation as to why I got to that point. But no, I can't take responsibility for.
I think the text is why people like it.
What I now call little.
Oh my
Text
God.
is funny.
Right?
I'm gonna hear what
Oh,
you
there
have
it
to
was.
say.
Calls his finger Little
Yeah,
Richard.
by the time that
It's great.
you sent this text message to Dr. Kipper, had you told him what had actually happened to your right finger?
Oh yes.
And when did you tell him that?
He was aware of that day, the day that it happened. Malcolm was aware of it. Jerry was aware of it. Stephen was. Everyone was aware of it. And of course, yes, when I went to the doctor, the emergency room, I lied to them because I didn't think it wise to cause a ruckus, implicate Miss Heard, and then have 8 million stories out in the press about how she'd thrown a bottle of vodka at me, and it smashed all the bones in the tip of my finger and cut off about there was all sliced down. You've seen it.
You know, if it was the other way around,
Yeah,
it would
it's
be
pretty
on every
horrible.
fucking paper. She wouldn't have had the same courtesy for him.
It was, and I didn't want to put her in that situation. I didn't want to put any of us in that situation. I didn't want to put the film in that situation. That was why I said it was crushed in an accordion door. And it was only the second doctor who actually told me what he was.
Your Honor, hearsay?
I haven't finished my sentence. How do you know?
He just defended his own objection. It was amazing.
It was the emergency room doctor was first. The next day, I went to see a specialist, a hand surgeon, and this was still in Australia. And he had recognized
A normal client gets admonished by the judge there.
my excuse for the finger being gone.
Objection, Your Honor, you're saying what the doctor told you about this thought.
Medical records exception.
Your Honor, it's in the context of medical treatment. Your Honor, I think this is a good stopping.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess. Again, do not do any outside discussions, and don't talk to each other about it, okay? We'll see you after lunch, okay? If everybody in the courtroom could still be quiet, please. Court is in session. Thank you.
Shut up, kids! You stupid kids in the back! Shut your mouth!
There's a bunch of Zoomers in the court today.
Well, it's-
Judge's worst nightmare. She can hear them hitting their the touch screens on their phones, texting their friends.
So we can take a recess till 2:20. Just for planning purposes, though, I plan to go to 5:30 today since we had a late start. So just to let you know, I know you plan on having a remote witness, which is fine. Just let us know so we can set that up. But also make sure your remote witness knows that this is a courtroom. I don't expect them to be any outside noises or anything else going on in direct attention. And also if they would know that if there's an objection for them to hold off answering, so that's resolved. That goes for all remote witnesses. Okay? All right. See you at 2:20 then.
You would think she would let the jury know that they're going to go till 5:30, but I guess that's not. That's
No,
not
the jury's just going to sit there until she says they can leave anyway.
Yeah, but, you know, they might want to plan their day. So you thought he was rambling too much?
Well, I think objectively that's true. He was just, some of those answers took a little while to get through. He is just not focused on direct. He's very focused on cross. He's great at responding to questions in succinct ways. On direct, he's asked to narrate, and his narration goes through a whole lot of filters, man. It goes through a lot. By the way, welcome to my guests, Good Logic, and the lawyer you know, who is. Can I say your name? Can I call you by your first
Everyone
name?
knows his name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Feel
Peter.
free. Absolutely.
Peter.
I prefer it.
Okay, good. So we got my friends Joe and Peter here to give some lunchtime analysis. How's it going, guys?
Thank
It's going
God.
well,
Thank God.
man. Yeah.
I actually appeared on Peter's show before anyone had ever heard of him, and it was during the Arbery. It was right after the Arbery decision, I think. It was right around then, and we had like a phenomenal time. I think I at least had a great time talking to him for an hour or 2 hours. His audience hated me. I mean, they hated me.
There's a lot to hate, to be fair.
Well, they were okay. So they were simping very hard for the prosecution, and
I had a lot of people also, I mean, I may focus on the good comments more than the bad ones. It's just kind of how I look at all of how this works. And I had a lot of people also talk good about you as well. So
Okay. No, yeah, we all focus, I think, on the negative, but I was simply putting it as to like how defensive strategy, what it should be, and what's fair given our justice system. Not like, okay, are they racist or they're not racist? I was really focused on, about I don't know, as a lawyer would approach it, and a lot of them had very passionate pro-prosecution perspectives, and because I was not passionately pro-prosecution, I had some I wasn't even like insults for the prosecution. I just wasn't glowing about the prosecution. That's like the most hate I ever saw in comments was from him. And to his credit, Peter never spoke to me again. He's like,
come on. First off,
he's like, that dude, he's gone.
Peter, I want to buy your book on how to never speak to Joe again.
I need to defend myself here. Okay. First off, still nobody's ever heard of me. This is the first trial I've ever been on any other channel or anything anyway. So I still don't think anybody's ever heard of me. Number one. Number two, you can come back on my channel anytime. We actually referenced you a lot. And actually, it was right before the Ghislaine Maxwell
Put
trial.
him on
because
blast.
Then you were just dug in there.
Yeah.
And we referenced you a lot, and I pushed people to your page a lot during that trial because you were there which is
didn't
really
mean to
fun. I
That's
know,
totally a joke.
I know,
It's
I know,
totally
I know, I know. But it's fun. I'm glad to be here, Nick. Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah.
This is a wild ride, man. To just stream a trial is tough. And the way you guys do it, it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of prep, it's a lot of being on all the time. I mean, I only pop in for an hour here or there when I have time, but it's a grind. So I mean, everybody out there that listens to Nick and Joe and everybody that comments on this stuff, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of time and energy to put into where this actually makes sense and you can have the conversation. So kudos to you guys. I could never do it, honestly. It's tough to really dig in and know what you're talking about this stuff. So it's been fun to kind of see a little bit of it.
So speaking of that, how have you guys caught some of the trials so far today?
Yes.
Prior to coming on, I hope.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. What's your impression of how Cross ended up?
Joe, you want to go first?
So I actually came in at the start of redirect, so I didn't catch the end of Cross.
Okay.
So I'm going to pass on that, but on the redirect, I have a lot of thoughts. So I'll let you handle the Cross.
So I actually thought Cross started out well. I thought the clips at the beginning of Cross today were the most damning ones for Johnny Depp. I think I even had a couple notes about them. Like some of the stuff, there was actually some physical stuff. She accused him of beating her and things like that, and he didn't deny it in the recording. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it happened, but we do have a lot of recordings of him denying things that she's saying or saying you're crazy or you're just trying to make it sound like that. We didn't have a lot of that in the initial recordings. And then I actually like their strategy of finally trying to break it down to this case is about defamation from this one article, these 3 statements, and then the judge kind of cut him off. And I thought Depp's lawyers did a good job of continuing to object, even though I kind of disagreed with some of the judge's rulings there. I think he should have been able to get into why did you sue Amber and not the Washington Post, especially because in the beginning of direct, their first question is, why are we here? Explain to the jury why we're here. And Johnny Depp went into a humongous thing about what Amber did to ruin his life and wrote these hit pieces and blah, blah. So he should have had to explain with somebody asking him questions, pointed questions as to why he picked to choose her, why he picked these statements. And, the objection was like legal conclusion. That's like saying if I have a criminal defendant on the stand and I say, did you do it? Did you murder this person? And they say no, like I'm asking for a legal conclusion because that's what the jury's there to decide. That's not what a legal conclusion is. They're not asking for legal definitions. He's just saying, this statement is what you sued her over, but that statement's true, right? It's not a legal conclusion. He's asking a question. I think he may have been able to audible and say the DV or TRO was in 2016. Did that actually happen? Did she file a TRO? That may have been a question to get around that legal conclusion of is it true, since that's kind of what we're here for on defamation. But he blew it at the end. I mean, I thought he was kind of in a groove. He was getting some good shots off. I thought Johnny was getting really annoyed. He was arguing with him. But then Johnny Depp's lawyers, when you start to feel the judge is coming your way, they doubled down, tripled down, objected. They won, and then he kind of sat down flat at the end of Cross. That was my feeling, but I don't know how you took it, Nick.
No, I similar. I thought some of the early recordings were. I mean, I of course can in my mind rationalize and explain them away. But what you bring up is good. In the recording, he doesn't deny anything, and I think he even said in the recording, you didn't deny hitting her, did you? I thought some of the other stuff was kind of weak though. Like he said something. She hit me with it, or I hit me with this, or whatever. She said in the recording, you hit me with this, and then you stab and you stab. It's like clearly she's not talking about a physical hit, so this is kind of ridiculous. I think they're trying to throw like this kitchen sink at him on stuff from the defense perspective. And I think they really need to laser focus on the defamation elements, like you said, because I do think that's the strongest part of their case. And then if they really wanted to hit him on some of this stuff, I think they should have limited the amount of text and stuff that they brought in that involved idiomatic language and hyperbolic language, and really focused in. I mean, every time he calls her a cunt, I think they should put that in there. I think because that's such an evocative word in today's climate, and I think that's good. I think one of the best recordings is the one where he screams at her, "You're so fucking dumb" or something today. Like, cause that's one of the first recordings we've heard where he sounds completely unhinged.
And that's what they need to get. They need the defense really, really needed to get that ugly animal out, because he's so likable. And I think so much of this case has come down to the likability factor because from a technical perspective, as far as establishing under the law, is this defamatory, the defense is in a really strong position. Where they're losing is on the likability. And if there's enough of an opening there, given what we're expecting to be completely divergent likability factors, with Johnny being so likable and Amber looking at like, Cruella de Vil. So I think that we're looking potentially, from the defense has to be concerned, that the jury is going to be looking for reasons to justify the decision in his favor.
And what the plaintiff's attorney's job on close is going to be, they're going to stand up and tell you that this case is isolated to these two sentences from this article, and you're supposed to pretend that nothing else has ever happened. That Amber Heard didn't spend 2 years trying and failing to get Johnny Depp canceled. That she didn't spend 2 years lying about domestic abuse, elevating herself at the expense of him. And it just wasn't working until this time. And we know that once this gets published, and they got this out on redirect, which I think was actually really good. Once this gets published, just days later, the Pirates of the Caribbean 6 is gone. And that is when Johnny Depp's career ended. But you cannot look at these two statements in a vacuum as if nothing else has ever occurred. Everything she said is wrapped up and packaged in those statements. She meant them, and this time she put it in a publication, and she knew that that publication in the Washington Post would go straight to directors, producers, and studio executives, and this would finally be the axe that severs the tie of Johnny Depp. That's what they need to hit as his plaintiff's attorneys, and I think we're going to hear some version of that on close, because that seems to be their strategy, and I think it's the strategy they have to do, because those two statements alone, way too weak to win a defamation case on in a vacuum. But in the context of an article, you get this little weird sort of benefit where statements in an article are not actually allowed to be taken in isolation. It cuts both ways. It's the gist of the article. It's the understanding that the reader is going to obtain from the overall piece. So at the end of the overall piece, is Johnny Depp more or less, does he come out looking better or worse, is kind of the way that goes. They don't get to just pick this as a statement that exists and then this one. Now, I'm muddying the water a little bit because you don't necessarily get to bring in external comments, but the jury isn't a legal scholar. And so you want to cloud that up as much as possible and let them decide, like Joe said, on charisma. Who do they like?
And that is a lot of times how juries make their decisions. It's just which client they like better, which is why it's so important Johnny being on the stand. It's going to be so important when Amber takes the stand more than most other cases, because it's kind of a weird legal cause of action to bring a case under. It's not easy to win for defamation. Everybody thinks they have a defamation case, but they don't, because it's so difficult. So it's really going to come down to, in this case, who do they like better? And that's where Johnny's winning. And that's where I think his direct and his cross has actually done really well. And the bulk of his cross being the full day Thursday was the best part for him, in my opinion, as far as likability goes. And as far as if he's going to pull the jury with him, I think he did a good job there. And then we'll see what happens when Amber takes the stand.
Which that actually brings me into the redirect, where I thought there was a brilliant moment. We always talk about turning lemons into lemonade. He took those texts where he was talking about, being like somewhat vicious toward her, and he basically brought up his mother and how he found himself in this helpless situation where all of a sudden he's a little boy again. And this whole framing, to my mind, I was listening to him describe Amber as being his mother. And all of a sudden it becomes equated in mind that evil bitch mother is Amber. And now you take these awful texts, and instead of looking at it like, wow, he could be a really dark, twisted person, you look at it as like, oh my God, this poor guy found himself basically married to a younger version of his own freaking mother, and she's as awful and terrible as he was. And look at how she destroyed his life, where now he's going back to the drugs, back to the alcohol, and looking to hide away from the world. And you feel such sympathy for him, where he's like, no one should have to live like that, And I don't wish on anyone that no one should ever have that existence. He's having it twice in his life, and the second time is all about Amber. I think that goes a long way towards taking some really terrible sounding texts and twisting it 180 degrees on its head. But all of a sudden now, instead of looking at him as being the bad person, you look at Amber as if she's the evil mother all over again.
I want to answer this question from the chat because it's a good question. And he had asked it earlier, and I thought I had answered it, but his question was a little different than I interpreted it. So this is from Michael Palmer. He says, Nick, you're missing the point. The question is, why did Depp's team choose to file the case based on the specific op-ed piece? They didn't have to file it this way, but they did. I think I know the answer. One of the really hard parts of defamation historically is proving that something was said by someone to someone else. Because you can kind of infer that people talk, you can infer that a conversation occurred, but if you can't point to when and where a statement was said, you've lost on two of the critical elements of defamation. You have to prove that a statement was made by the defendant to a third party about the plaintiff. And when you've got a publication in the Washington Post, in an op-ed piece, you've got a date, you've got an author, you can prove that those words came from that person. You don't have to rely on a potentially unfavorable witness to try and elicit the testimony. You don't get the opportunity to muddy words of what was said. I mean, it's right there in the text. You can prove that these statements occurred. And up until the internet, and this is why I think defamation law is actually behind, because that used to be the challenge. Prove that someone said something to you at all. That's why anti-slap laws kind of came about, is because you could just say, well, this person said this nasty thing about me to someone else, and therefore you file a frivolous lawsuit. Now we can prove when people say something because they put it on Twitter, they put it on Facebook, they put it in an op-ed, wherever it gets published. That publication is now recorded and it's time-stamped, and you know where it was said. I mean, we know the whole reason this case is in Virginia is because the Washington Post is headquartered in Virginia. So we know that that statement was published in Virginia. You can't necessarily assume that that statement was published or directed anywhere other than where it was actually written and put up. So Amber Heard went to Washington Post. She went to Virginia virtually and published a statement. So you've got when, who, when, and where, and you've got those three questions covered. So that I think should help understand why they're doing it this way. I mean, would it be okay to bring in all these other statements? It starts to get hard. Can you prove that they made them? And if you start getting into these cases and they're like, actually, she didn't say that, or you get a witness who contradicts the very notion of what she said, suddenly you start to lose credibility. So they focus this way, and there's positives and negatives to it.
And part of defamation is one of the unique characteristics of defamation, along with fraud, is that those are two, off the top of my head, they're only two, which have to be pled with specificity, as opposed to most times when you're pleading a complaint, you really want to keep it generally, you want to keep it as general as you can while making out the elements of your case. When it comes, there's a requirement, otherwise it basically will, the cause of action will fail. For failure to state a cause of action, there is a requirement to plead with specificity.
All right,
so
it's done.
Getting the exact words the person said.
What do you guys think?
When they said it, if you don't have that, the case is lost on a motion to dismiss. So if you're just saying, I think something was said, you lose on a motion to dismiss. And that's why what Nick is saying is so spot on with respect to these defamation cases. It is a little easier today because of social media and everything being recorded and the internet being forever. But here, whatever she said bad about him in the past, you don't know when she said it.
I'm going to edit video.
Someone overheard it. Here we have an actual direct quote, which is why I think this probably is where he locked in. Why do you speculate that he left out the Washington Post? Word that they would get clipped and she would walk free? Or what's your
dude, one, you're fighting a team of lawyers who are going to sit there and run roughshod over like some First Amendment protection. Two, it's an op-ed piece. It's not published in the news. So they're like, we publish opinion pieces all the time. We're not as concerned with their veracity. We're not speaking to the truthfulness. You've got the public figure part of it where they have to prove actual malice. Prove that the op-ed meant for Amber Heard's words to be defamatory is a lot harder than proving that she knowingly lied about it. I think you just avoid a ton of issues. And I think that her lawyer is right to try and bring that in. Like, why didn't you do that? Play on the ignorance of the jury there. But I think that their team is also right in saying that calls for a legal conclusion. Like, why didn't you do that? Johnny Depp probably has no legal idea why they're not suing the Washington Post. In fact, he may want to sue those sons of bitches too, but his lawyers might have been like, look, this is going to raise a ton of problems. Plus, you're gonna bog down the entire system even longer than it's been with appeals on First Amendment grounds.
All right.
I just think
Let
they
me
avoided
turn
a ton
down
of
Nick
the
and all of
issues
them.
and really focus
So
on who made the statement.
I'm going to share
That's what I
my
look at like.
The problem they
screen.
have is if I'm part of
If
the
you guys are not
party,
following me on Twitter, this
you know,
is my
there's only
art
the
Twitter
context,
account.
the essential context.
Here
Why
you
is
guys
it
go. I'm
that
editing the video
that
right
headline
now.
is what-
And then this is my
So
auth
I think that
Instagram.
headline creates
You
the
guys should
framing
totally go follow
for
me.
the
This is where I
reader.
post
Meaning if
all
I
of
just-
the
I
eye
don't know anything about Johnny
paintings.
Depp and Amber Heard's relationship, and that's the first time I'm looking at it. It's the framing by the Washington Post, which is what makes
All
it
of the eye
so damning,
paintings.
as opposed to those specific statements that she made. And look, I'm Team Johnny as hard as you want, but I've looked
Now,
at the
I'll
reality
play
of
the
situation, and that
the
is
past one while I
very
edit
clear by the
these.
author, specifically with the headline there, rather than those specific quotes.
I don't think Johnny really cares about the 50 million. I think that's why. I think he cares about going at Amber Heard, and a lot of this stuff might not be admissible.
This guy's
if the
voice
Washington
doesn't
Post
match
was in
his
here,
face.
too, as far as the character assassination going back and forth.
Oh, did I
And just
get
a
paint
quick
on my
last
pants?
thought on those 3 specific lines from the op-ed. Nick said multiple times, you got to publish it, publicized. But what that actually means is you have to say these defamatory words to enough people to where it's actually going to matter and hurt that person and cause damages. So if she's texting her friend, or Johnny's text message to Paul Bettany are not defamation, because he's just telling Paul Bettany, he's venting to his friend. He's not publicizing it and trying to ruin her career and putting it out there. And that's the other thing that, an op-ed in the Washington Post, that's per se published, I mean, you just get over certain steps by using specific language in an op-ed like this.
Right. One other thing. So I'm thinking that the headline is probably a lost cause for them. However, I think they will make the argument, and this might work for the jury as well, because that headline is not stricken as part of the cause of action. It is still part of the cause of action. I think they're going to work really hard to get the back and forth communications about this article, about this op-ed, which those back and forth communications involve them trying to craft it to not trigger a defamation suit specifically. And I wonder if there's, and I'm not familiar with the full extent of the communications, but I wonder if there's not something in those communications that they can argue that the Washington Post drew from to get out that headline. And if they can go ahead and not necessarily pin the headline on Amber Heard, but pin the background stuff on sort of the things she was saying in drafting this thing, then the jury might say, yeah, but the Washington Post person, where did they even get sexual violence? Oh, wait, from the statements made in the drafts of this op-ed that were going around. Okay, now I see. She was defaming Johnny Depp through that, and that's where it comes out. So I think they might have some sort of strategy there. I'm completely speculating on that. But if I were their lawyers, I would hope to have some strategy around trying to at least attach the result of that statement, even if they can't attach it exactly. Because this isn't appeals court. You don't have to win over a legal conclusion from an astute, learned audience. You have to just convince the jury that they did this and that's their fault, basically. So I think that's great. I think that's going to be the biggest pitfall for Amber Heard is on cross. They're going to ask, "Do you have anybody else help you draft this article?" You did, didn't you? And you specifically removed Johnny Depp's name because you didn't want defamation or whatever. And then if she denies that in any way, if she opens the door to those communications, they're all coming in.
Yeah, a lot of people asking too, throughout all, my videos, and I see it here in your chat, will Amber Heard even testify? Are we sure she's going to testify? She has to testify. I mean,
Yeah.
And in a civil case, you can't say no. So if you're that bad that your side doesn't want to call you, the other side can call you and make you come to the stand and ask you questions. So there's no way she gets out of trial without testifying. So we're going to hear her testimony. We're going to hear Johnny Depp's lawyers ask her questions. And we might see parts of her deposition if she gives inconsistent statements and they have to impeach her. And then you can play the video, which is one of the benefits of videoing depositions sometimes. And you choose strategically when you want to take that extra step. And people say she was horrible on it. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've seen clips of her rolling her eyes and laughing or giggling about certain serious subjects. So maybe they'll get into that, maybe they won't, but she's definitely going to take the stand in the case.
Yeah, Johnny Depp just spent 4 days on the stand. He's spending his 4th day on the stand. You have to. She will have to try and be more likable than him.
I anticipate she's probably going to spend similar amounts of time on the stand that he spends.
Oh yeah,
her side of the story is going to take no shorter period of time than his. So, and part of one defense is truth. So we're going to be hearing all her stories as to whether or not she actually was abused. Let's hear about these incidents where he was engaged in domestic violence. And fleshing those out, and then the cross-examination on that. I think she's going to spend she could potentially spend even longer on the stand than he does. So.
Yeah, it all depends on how they approach it, how much time they have left. The judge has made them very aware of the clock early on in this trial. And so by the time they get to Amber Heard, if they want to spend 4 days, 5 days, 6 days with her on the stand, then they need to make sure that they're going to have to truncate some of their other witness testimony, I think. And they may want to do. They also may want to focus it down, because if she's unlikable, and believe me, they'll know because they have to deal with her. If she's unlikable, then they may not want her on the stand that long. They may limit their questions.
If you're the prosecution, you keep her up there just so everyone could be like,
oh, yeah.
He had to live with her for years. You only got stuck with her for 4 days.
Do you see how terrible this is? Wouldn't you beat her?
Yeah. Like Bill Burr says, it's never right to hit a woman, but
I mean, I think that that's the crux of the trial. The two parties in this case basically calling each other liars and abusers. That's the whole trial. We can have all the friends and sisters and people on the payroll come up and try to help out their friend, but when it comes down to it, it's just going to be between them two. So I think she's going to be up there for a long time, and I think Depp's lawyers are prepared for it, and I think the jury's probably going to hate her at the end. That's what it seems like, where the world is leaning. So we'll see if that's how it turns out.
And I think the audience is reflective of the jury. When you feel like something is boring and slow, that's probably how the jury's feeling. And when you're sitting there, thinking like, wow, this poor guy, and wow, she's evil, that's probably what the jury is thinking also. They're just like you or me. I mean, they literally pluck people at random. That's the whole beauty of our jury system. So if you're wondering how they're feeling, chances are that many of them are feeling the same way you are about the testimony, about these respective.
I'm uploading it now.
And when the gallery laughs, if the jury's not laughing, it's because they're trying really hard not to laugh.
I think they're told not to. I think they're told not to show.
Everybody's told not to, but sometimes you can't help it when you laugh when somebody says something funny. I mean,
yep. Johnny Depp has had the gallery laughing a couple times today. It's good stuff, and that likability that's gonna pay more dividends than any amount of.
Oh wow! It uploaded. That was amazing. So you guys want to see what I've done?
Like, I mean, I know, I get it. Right,
look at it.
But,
look at that eye.
I think the defense.
Let me turn these guys down. Look at that eye. It looks super red, but he's got pretty pink skin in the photo. Look at that. Oh my goodness, a green eye and a blue eye. Okay, here we go. Let's make it big. This is what I've done this whole time. This is 2 hours and 45 minutes. This is what I've been doing. Doing another one today? I don't know. I don't know if I should. I mean, I guess I can. The only problem with that, though, is then I run the risk of being tired, and I feel like my eyes don't look as good if I'm tired. Yay! Look at that eye. What do you guys think? You guys like it? Are the lashes highlighted? No, the lashes are blonde. Like they start off brown at the end and then they get blonder as a whatchamacallit, as they move away. So the brown I painted on there is just a shadow. Are they wearing makeup? No. His eyes just, it looks really red in the photo. There's a couple ones that I've painted that it's really red and then it looks good in the painting. I think like the photos I didn't think would make a good painting and then I was wrong. I think it brings out the human skin. Here, I'll show you guys an example of another one. Also, go like that. Go like it. Here you guys go. Here's the, it looks redder in the photo than it is in person. But okay, so this one was really red in the photo, obviously. This one was like super red and orange. And a lot of people like this one. So I think maybe that's it. But, yeah, there's a couple people that have had blonde eyelashes. Like Christopher Prophet had blonde eyelashes. This person actually is albino. Gosh. This person has like blonde-ish eyelashes. I should crimp my hair again. I haven't crimped my hair in a while. It looks nice in that photo. Let's see. Yeah. I really like the blonde. This guy had blonde eyelashes too. This guy did too. This guy was just like really bright. And the photo was kind of blown out of bish. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. These look like Easter eggs to me. I'm just crazy. Maybe. But yeah, I hope you guys liked it. Hope you liked it. I'm trying to think of if I have time to paint another one today or not. Oh, if you guys haven't let me know what kind of leafing you want on your eye, please do. That would be great. Would be great. Oh, you know, I need to go to the grocery store. Probably shouldn't do another eye painting right now. I probably should go to the grocery store and do adult things. Maybe I'll do another one tonight. Oh, wait, no, I have a... Oh, maybe I can do one later tonight. Let's see. But, yeah, needs more weird ones. Yeah, making funny expressions. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it a day. I painted my one eye. I have my... Is it all beautiful 3 rows again? Is it? No, almost. I need one more. Okay. Maybe I'll do another painting tonight, but as of right now, I'm kind of... I don't know. I need to get other stuff done today. But everyone, thanks so much for hanging out. After the stream is over, please leave me a comment. It helps me out with the algorithm. This channel is still being weird, like the back end side of things. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But we'll power through it. But anyways, everyone, thanks so much for being here. What number is this? 55. This is number 55. 55. So I'm making progress on our way to 60. Then we'll be on our way to 70. Then 80. Then 90. Then 100. And then another 100 until 200. Yay. But anyways, everyone, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure if you're not already, leave a comment on this stream. Go and follow me over on the Instagram. Go follow me on my art Twitter. And until next time, everyone, have a great rest of your day, morning, evening, afternoon. Oh, share all of this. Tell people about my channel, my eye project, and, you know, all the good things. But anyways, everyone, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.